But on top of the world being doomed, well. You know, we're talking about groups that you don't want to mess with, and one of them is the sun, even though the sun is an object, not a group. But you don't want to mess with the law either. And well, the law will eventually catch up to you, and that is Nintendo. Nintendo, we went over it a little while ago. Nintendo was investigating the Yuzu emulator, which allowed people to play a bunch of different games here and there on the Yuzu emulator, kind of bypassing some of Nintendo's paywalls and crazy stuff like that. And well, get this. Yuzu emulator puts out a post and says, "Hello, Yuzuers and Citra fans. We write today to inform you that Yuzu and Yuzu's support of Citra are being discontinued, effective immediately. Yuzu and its team have always been against piracy. We started the projects in good faith out of passion for Nintendo and its consoles and games. We were not intending to cause harm. But we see now that because our projects can circumvent Nintendo's technological protection measures and allow users to play games outside of authorized hardware, they have led to extensive piracy. In particular, we have been deeply disappointed when users have used our software to leak game content prior to its release and ruin the experience for legitimate purchasers and fans. We have come to the decision that we cannot continue to allow this to occur. Piracy was never our intention. And we believe that piracy of video games and on video game consoles should end. Effective today, we will be pulling our code repositories offline, discontinuing our Patreon accounts and Discord servers, and soon shutting down our websites. We hope our actions will be a small step towards ending piracy of all creators' works. Thank you for your years of support and for understanding our decision." Let's be honest, why do most emulators exist? Because you can kind of do piracy and you can get away with things that you normally couldn't do without the emulator. That's pretty much why emulators realistically exist to the most part here. Okay, let's be honest. But this also feels like a statement where Nintendo's over there, you know, they got a kind of gun to the Yuzu's head, and they're like, "Hey, say this right now." You know, they got a gun, they're holding it there, you know. Bree, welcome back. Which is pretty wild. But on top of that, we also have this little thing right here. The Yuzu versus Nintendo lawsuit settlement proves Nintendo was right. You don't settle outside of court for over $2 million unless the other party has some very damaging evidence on you. This proves emulators are not about game preservation, it's about thievery, the end. 2.4 million. So they decided to kind of try to avoid the court as much as possible, and they did a settlement outside of court as much as possible because they wanted to avoid a lot of that other stuff. Yeah, but here's the main thing that a lot of people are discussing right now, and that is that emulators are about game preservation. And what it means by that is an emulator is one of the sometimes the only device that you can use to play an old game. Okay, a really old game that you literally cannot play anymore. You can use an emulator to play that old game still even today. Okay, that's like one big counterpoint that a lot of people are bringing up. But ultimately, although that I will agree with that a little bit, that it does help game preservation a bit. And some emulators, yes, were built in good faith to keep old games preserved and you can still play old games. I will agree with. Ultimately, there's just so much, there's such a bigger ability to pirate newer games and all that stuff that just hurts the legitimacy of an emulator, right? It hurts the legitimacy of it. So there are some retro games that are rare and most people can't get their hands on it. Oh yeah. No, there's games that are very, very rare. You literally can't play anymore unless you use an emulator. So if you can't get the emulator, then yeah. Now, well, let's be honest here. Ultimately, someone is gonna just kind of revive the Yuzu emulator and just kind of like the Yuzu emulators just kind of just keep hopping Git repositories. It's just gonna keep hopping repositories. It's not gonna go away, but it's technically not gonna be officially supported anymore, right? It just won't. So yeah, but I thought that was quite interesting. And talking about game preservation, we have this over here. Yuzu versus Nintendo lawsuit settlement situation really shows that these PC gamers are truly entitled clowns. They keep crying about game preservation, but not one of them has given any solution to stop piracy, which is true. Ultimately, again, although it does do game preservation, which this person, based on that one line right there, does admit that it helps preserve old games, um, there's not like a great way to prevent the piracy aspect of the emulators, which is true. That's because they are pirates who are mad that Nintendo games are not available on PC and never will. I gotta be honest, the fact that Nintendo games are not releasing on PC, it just pushes the idea of that they're, in my opinion, a garbage company. Okay. And here's why. Because rather than trying to get it out to the most amount of people as possible to be able to let them enjoy the game, no, it's not about letting people enjoy their games. It's about what can you benefit and make the most profit off of. And you know what that is? Let's release the Nintendo Switch, okay? And let's release our games exclusively on the Nintendo Switch. So if we release a brand new game on Nintendo Switch, or if we release a brand new game, brand new title, everything, but it's a Nintendo Switch exclusive, if somebody finds that game interesting, they have to not only buy the game, they have to go buy a Nintendo Switch. All of it is for maximizing profits. It's not for the community. It's not for the people. It is for profit and it is for business. That's what it's for. So I think Nintendo is a terrible company for doing that, but ultimately, is it illegal? No. Is it morally wrong? In my opinion, yes. But ultimately, there's nothing that's against it. There's nothing against it. So ultimately, yeah. But again, though, using an emulator to pirate the game so you can play it on PC, yeah, that's wrong. That's wrong. Unless it's like I said, a game that just you literally can't get anywhere. It's so rare to the point that it's insanely hard to play. The only way you can play it is an emulator. That's fine. But you know, to get these new games on PC through an emulator, yeah, I mean, I agree with it a little bit, but still, I think Nintendo is a terrible company for doing that. But ultimately, they're technically not doing anything wrong, and they can do this all they want. What are they going to say about people that emulate games on mobile? Yeah. Nintendo is a console maker who makes games for console gamers, who also still actively promotes and sells more physical games than anyone else in gaming. Is that true? I don't know if that's true. Is Nintendo the biggest physical game seller right now? Is that true? I don't know. So, PC clowns, stop masking your preferences as games preservation. SCFU and buy the console if you want to play console games that bad. These guys can buy a super PC for thousands of dollars, but they can't have the money to buy a Switch, and it's the cheapest console. I gotta be honest. I don't think I'll ever buy a Switch. I mean, yeah, they're not insanely expensive. What are they? Switches that are like $400 or something like that. They're not that expensive, but ultimately, I mean, dude, I can only play so many games on it. There's only a certain amount of games I can play on it. So much so that it's not. I can't really justify buying that. The Steam Deck has more has more options on that you can do. Right? Steam Deck has way more on it. Um, so Yeah. Yeah. Not one of them has given a solution to stop pirates. I can't Steam to think of a platform that has solved most of the issues causing piracy. You got me there. I can't Steam to think why a console maker would switch their games to another platform for no reason and kill their business. You got me there. Yeah. Switch is like $300 to $500, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Which is, I mean, a little bit less than half the price of my current gaming PC, right? Which is fine, but still, my PC, I could do way more on it than a Switch. But ultimately, all it comes down to is whether you, one, have the money, and two, you want to play the certain games that are on there. Yeah. So I figured I would just kind of go over this a little bit, talk about it, but I don't know. So Yuzu is shutting down. A lot of people are really sad about this. A lot of people are hating on this, but ultimately, it was bound to happen. Let's be honest, it was bound to happen. You never want to fight in Nintendo, okay? You just don't want to fight Nintendo or any of these companies. They will come put a gun to your head, and you're in trouble, okay?